From New York, Ebro in the morning on Hot 97.
It's Ebro in the morning. Laura Stiles, Rosenberg.
Yeah.
And you, sir, how are you today?
Great.
You like that? Introduce yourself to the audience, please.
Hello, audience. I'm New York State Senator Jesse Hamilton from Brooklyn, representing Sunset Park, Gowanus, Park Slope, Prospect Heights, Crown Heights, Flatbush, and beautiful Brownsville.
Now, Senator Jesse Hamilton is your second time on the program.
Yes, it is. It's the second
You was
time.
here like a month ago.
Yeah,
6 weeks.
Just came back. But we asked you to come back because the last conversation we had with you was great. It was more about housing and what's going on in Brooklyn, and you had people up here from the community talking about it, affordable housing and things that you're working on.
Correct.
But this time we're having you back because Raise the Age was just passed at the state level, courtesy of many people, including shout to Cuomo, who's on there, even though it was his bill and other people wanted, I think it was Hamilton's bill. Is that right?
That's me, yes.
That's
That's
your bill? They
Yes,
wanted.
yes.
Was that your bill that
That's
they
my-
wanted?
Yes.
More or less? And your bill had a little bit more progressive ideas in it. Is that true?
Well, it was Velma Montgomery, Senator Montgomery. She's been passionate about this for over a decade.
Okay.
And no one really listened to her, and she was so passionate about it. Her bill was a great bill. My bill was a bill that could get both sides to come to the table because they've been working on this for 10 years. So you figure 10 years, 30,000 kids every year, 300,000 kids going through a system that was flawed. So I said, we can't be waiting, another 10 years. So let's get a bill that we can get passed, and then it's work in progress. We just keep refining it and building on it.
So do you like the bill that's been passed so far for Raise the Age?
Oh, yes, it's great. It's a great bill. For the first time, we have 16 and 17-year-olds not being housed in adult prisons. These young kids are being brutalized. They're being raped. Their minds are being destabilized. Like Khalif Browder. These young kids at 16, your mind is just...
Khalif Browder.
I'm saying Khalif Browder. Your minds are just formulating, and you're being put in solitary confinement.
So it's Montgomery's bill was the more progressive bill, which would have gotten the 16 and 17-year-olds immediately out of adult prisons or quicker than the current bill.
No, the basic difference in the bills is how it's going through family court or going through criminal court, which is now we have a youth part. Some people wanted the bill where if you had a felony, everything should go through family court.
And that was Montgomery's bill.
Pretty much, yes.
Okay.
So now, if it's a violent felony like a murder and rape, you go to the youth part. You have a family court judge who's there. If it's a nonviolent felony, the DA doesn't file a motion to keep you in the youth part, then you automatically go into family court.
So now that, I have a question. So now that it's passed, what happens to the 16 and 17-year-olds that are incarcerated right now?
Well, right now, we're going to have them move. We want them taken off of Rikers Island. The city has a year and a half to get them off of Rikers Island. That's the mandate by the bill. What I put in the bill is like in a year and a half, we have to remove all 16 and 17-year-olds off of Rikers Island.
And why does it take a year and a half?
Because the facilities have to be retrofitted.
Okay.
The kids to come in. Ideally, we like to have like a program where if you have a crime that's snatching a cell phone, why keep you incarcerated? Let's keep you in school. Maybe give you an ankle bracelet to be part of society. Because we know being incarcerated, kids are not coming out rehabilitated.
Right.
They're just coming out worse off than when they went in. Right.
The other piece of the bill that got passed, I understand, we had Assemblyman Michael Blake on the show yesterday.
Right.
From the Bronx. Another piece of the bill, and some other people have told me this, that the book for a crime that you committed at 16 or 17, your file stays open for 10 years. Talk to us about why that is, and is that true?
That is true. In negotiating with the governor, my counterparts in the Senate Republicans and the Democrats in the Assembly, my recommendation is that 10 years is a long time for someone's record to be, not
Especially if I did something at 16.
At 16, you serve 10 years, you're 26, and then you want to get a good job, and you served your time, but you still have a felony on your record, so it's unsealed for 10 years. So my recommendation is, if you're doing well, you serve your time, you did good behavior, it should be an appeal process. Say, hey.
And is that in the bill right now?
Well, right now we're having a task force, which is in the bill. The task force is going to examine when records should be sealed and under what circumstances. So part of the negotiation was have a task force so we can look at it to see the impact on not having your record sealed. You kind of shut out the job market, more or less.
So now I also understand that you, Senator, are a part of the Independent Democratic Conference. Is that right? You're in the IDC.
I'm in the IDC.
Which most people in the Democratic side obviously do not like that, right? You're aware of this.
Our guy yesterday was not thrilled with the
Michael
IDC.
Blake doesn't like it, and many other people don't like it because they feel like it. We have the Miss Montgomery. She's
Dominic Montgomery. Yes.
Yeah, she's the first black speaker.
No. That's Andrew Stewart Cousins.
I'm sorry. Yes. And they feel that now we have a black speaker, and all of a sudden we're developing this independent Democratic conference that is weakening the Democratic Party's power in Albany. Am I saying it right?
Yeah, you're saying because the way we understood it yesterday, and you work us through this because this comes from someone who opposes it, is that essentially the IDC separated themselves from the other Democrats and are working and conferencing with Republicans. So now the Democrats don't have the majority that they would have because you guys aren't playing ball with the Democrats.
And which, I mean, you alluded to earlier because you said that you worked on a bill that brought the Republicans to the table. So the IDC, you're saying, or you and your comrades helped this bill get done because you made the Republicans comfy.
Not comfy. It's a matter of human rights and children being tortured in this criminal justice system.
Well, no, I mean as far as the Republicans.
Oh yeah,
voting on
Republicans coming
behalf.
over. So
yeah,
as far as the IDC, when I first came to the Senate, they used to always say, "Hey, up in North Country," and like for the first week, I thought they were talking about Canada. Upstate New York and downstate New York are two different animals, two different political
planets.
So when we had the sanctuary bill, all the IDC members voted for the sanctuary bill, but you have upstate Democrats who voted against the sanctuary bill. So what I started to notice is that some Democrats were voting along with Republicans, not voting with Republicans, but voting against issues that were germane to New York City, like the DREAM Act. I'm like, well, we're all Democrats. Why can't we vote for the DREAM Act? If we're all Democrats, why can't we vote for same-sex marriages? And I said, well, if we're all Democrats, why can't we vote to raise the age? And that took 10 years to happen. So people want to talk about, we're not weakening the democratic process. We're actually strengthening it. Because right now the Republicans control the Senate. So if we want to wait another 2 years, another 4 years to make things happen, you can do that.
So if all of the members of the IDC sided fully with the Democrats, there would not be a Democratic majority?
There would not be a Democratic majority because of Simcha Felder, who is from Borough Park, has literally caucused with the Republicans.
And he's a Democrat.
Yeah,
he's a Democrat.
He said that, and that's what
Michael
said.
Blake. Yeah.
Right. So
this is someone that people voted for. They agreed with his ideals.
Correct.
And he's a Democrat. I don't know if they voted for him because he was a Democrat or they voted for him because they agreed with his platform, because that happens, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. But he's aligning himself with Republicans who generally voted against raise the age, who also voted against
Sanctuary City. Also voted against the DREAM Act.
The DREAM Act.
But numbers wise, if you remove this guy, and let's take him out completely, and all the IDC people went with the Democrats, what would the split be?
It'd be 50-50. It'd be 50-50. 50 Republicans. I mean, not a 50-50 split. It's like 32. Right. It's like 31-31. Excuse me. 31 Republican senators. 31 Democrats.
And you guys know for a fact that if all the members of the IDC went with the Democrats, that Felder would go to the Republicans?
He would stay with the Republicans. That's
because Blake made it sound like as if he would go whichever way he was willing to blow whichever way the wind was going.
No, you got to realize the Democrats had problems in the past where you had Democrats leaving and going to the Republican side, Espada, Montserrat, whereas the Republicans have been in power for 70 years.
Well, let's get to it. Are these, Republicans are notorious for using their money to influence people and having more money often than Democrats do because they're backed by corporations and, corporations and people like that fund Republicans because they get tax breaks. We know how it works. We see it happen all the time.
Yeah, but I think at the same time, we live in a democratic city, right?
No, in this city. But it's different than upstate. It's different than upstate.
Yeah, it's different than upstate, but we have a democratic city here. We have the highest homeless rate. In my neighborhood, they want to put 3 more homeless shelters. We already have 9. They spent $43 million to build a shelter, and we're asking for 100% affordable at the Armory on Bedford and Union. If they could have took that $43 million rather than building a shelter to build affordable housing. So my issue is let's stick to issues that are germane to us living here in New York City, like raise the age, more affordable housing, more jobs, stop broken windows. 20,000 young kids arrested every year for jumping the turnstile, possibly going to jail. That makes no sense. So we introducing legislation. You jump the turnstile, you get a violation. And now if you jump the turnstile, you could be deported. So and it's basically a crime of income
But
inequality.
you would think that all Democrats would agree with that, right? So
Well-
why would there need to be an independent Democratic conference to get that stuff done? If all, I would think most
Because we don't have the
Democrats-
majority. We don't have the majority. If we had the majority, then it wouldn't be an issue. It wouldn't be an IDC.
So what deals need to be cut with the Republicans, generally speaking, to get them to go along with these things?
We don't cut deals. It's like me sitting here with you, talking to you, Ebro, saying, "Look, Ebro, this is what happened to these young kids in the city. We need more job training programs.
Yeah.
It's not
You gotta
about
keep these kids busy. Keep them out of
keep
trouble.
them busy. So it's to me, it's not a Democrat-Republican issue. It's how do we provide for those who have the least.
But
where
Republicans
I
don't
was going-
generally prioritize those issues.
Yeah, and that's why I was going there earlier, is because I know usually the way to get Republicans on board is to figure out how they're going to make money for their district or make money for
Themselves.
something or
Well,
make
that's
money for
financially
their
benefit
donation.
them.
That's what any elected official. And I think people get confused with the powers of the state versus the federal government.
Okay.
Okay. The federal government has much more powers than the state does. And basically, at one point in time, we had the majority in the federal government as far as Democrats. And we should have gotten more done in our inner cities, like more money for NYCHA, for HUD programs, for Section 8. Those are the things we have to look at. So if we want to just say, okay, we're not in the majority, but we're not getting the funding we need, so we're just going to, can wait until we get the majority. People can't wait. We have to get things done. And that's what's happening. People say, well, when we get the majority, we get things done. Even Donald Trump realizes now he has to work with the Democrats to get things done. And I'm going to Albany to get things done.
But why did you guys have to break into your own sort of separate thing to do that? Like, why couldn't you cross party lines while still just being all considered Democrats? Like, what's the point of it being the IDC specifically?
Well, it's a matter of being progressive, being able to see issues and getting things done. Some people get caught up in that analogy of, I'm not going to talk to anybody. I can debate on the floor, and they beat me in a debate, on the floor. But the main purpose is to get things done. And I was sent to Albany to get things done. Be it me fighting for the Armory, fighting to get kids off of Rikers Island who are being tortured, raising the age. This is my second term.
So what I'm hearing from you is for your district and
Right.
for the people you represent, you feel like the best thing for you to do for the people who voted for you is to independently conference, right, separate from the Democrats so that you can get things done. And do you feel like the people who voted for you are happy with the result?
I'm still a Democrat, and I still caucus with the Democrats. Let's say in Brownsville, 13% of the kids are reading at grade level. For decades, right? One of the highest homicide rates, prison pipelines. So my first term, I created the campus, the first of its kind in public housing. Technology, coding, STEM, wellness, psychiatrists, social workers. Then we have workforce development and anti-gang violence. I saw a young man shot right in front of me and died, and he died not because, the gunshot, he died because the police didn't do CPR. When the ambulance came, they couldn't get in because the police cars blocked it.
When did this happen?
This happened like about 3 months ago. And the firefighters looked and watched this young man die a block away. And I said, why didn't you come to this young man's, Mr. Irvin's aid when he was shot? They said, contractually, we do not have to report to a shooting. I said, come on, man, that's bullshit. If you were in Park Slope, you would have been out that firehouse. So we have situations where millions of dollars are being spent, but not being utilized effectively. So now we have 59 community-based organizations coming together. My first term, I'm about being about it, action. And if some people are not moving the way I'm moving, then I'm going to get with people who are getting things done. So we have,
Whether they're Democrats or not.
I don't care whether it's you're a Democrat, I'm a Democrat. I'm all for Democrats, right? But if we don't have the majority, I'm not going to sit for 2 years and complain. I'm setting up there to get the job done. And so now we have the governor has allocated $1.4 billion to Central Brooklyn. And so we're going to have midnight basketball. We're going to have more coding programs. We're going to have a holistic approach to the criminal justice system. Good eating. And so that's what we have to do. Right now, people in Brownsville have been suffering for years. I get there, and for the first time, we're seeing changing the narrative on how we look at Brooklyn, how we look at Brownsville. So people can say, I think they're kind of hating a little bit because I'm like, you've been in office for how many years? What have you done for your community? Stop complaining and get out there and do something. Work with the police department. Yeah.
Damn it, it's hard to know what to think, you bro.
Well, I think he thinks
that makes sense.
Well, I can tell by your tone you think that. Well, because I'm not a Democrat. I'm
Right.
independent, right? So I like to listen to both sides. And if you talk crazy talk, I don't care what side you're on. You sound crazy sometimes,
Right.
Like Donald Trump's crazy. I'm not fucking with Donald Trump. Out of here.
Right.
Some of those people talk crazy. I don't like moral issues woven into my politics. I don't like all that. religion and abortion and my politics.
Right.
Let's talk about how we're going to get these kids jobs.
Right.
Let's talk about how we're going to get people on the right path. Let's talk about these things that matter, and then let people on the local level deal with what's good for their community. Which kind of sounds like a Republican, but it's independent. But I'm liberal on some ideas too.
Right.
But the reason I asked you is just because I've heard that people do have a problem with the IDC, and I knew you were a part of that. I love the fact that you guys work to get raise the age done, and you're going to refine it over time. I love everything that I hear you doing in Brooklyn, the people you brought up here last time. I love all that. But I just want the people to learn that what's happening in our state. Like even when we asked de Blasio about what's really going on between him and Cuomo, as regular people, we get frustrated by seeing people whose job it is to get things done, like you're saying, ping pong back and forth over nonsense that doesn't get kids better jobs, right? Or doesn't help a family find a home, or doesn't, create a better relationship between the communities that the police are in and the police, or you know what I mean? Like that's the stuff that we want to hear. Like,
and people in my community not complaining.
And that's why I asked you, are the people who put you in office happy with your production?
I ran unopposed in this last cycle. So people love what I'm doing in my community because we're on the ground.
There it is.
So as far as my precinct council presidents, we work together. Now I'm the chair of the banking committee, the first person of color to be chair of the banking committee in the state of New York. So what we're doing now, we're getting a new bank in Brownsville. We're getting more financial services because money is everything. We have 8 check cashing places in Brownsville and 1.5 banks. And why is that? So we have to go to other people to get financing to buy homes. So right now, I feel we're in a great place as far as banking is concerned, as far as financial services in our community. So I hear what people are saying, but at the same time, I'm about getting the job done.
And you feel like the partisanship is it's slowing you down. It's slowing everybody.
I think it's slowing everything down.
Yeah.
Because we're saying Trump's the boogeyman, but Trump had nothing to do with all these kids getting arrested. Trump has nothing to do with the affordable housing crisis in New York City. So don't let that distract us. I mean, we do have a job to deal with Trump, but the Black and Hispanic community have been having problems for decades.
Yeah, that
had nothing to do with Trump.
Nothing.
So they might say, Trump to deflect from the deficiencies that our electors have done to our communities. There's no reason why we should have, kids being unemployed, underemployed, underbanked in New York City. We're the financial capital of the world. As far as media is concerned, the media capital of the world. We have to say we need to get our young kids jobs, like Devon right here. Arrested at 17 years old, spent 15 years in jail, coming out in college now with a 3.85 GPA. Those are the stories that we should be talking about. Those are the resources we should be giving to John Jay College to change the dynamic. Just because you did something at 16, 17 doesn't mean that should affect you for the rest of your life. And usually, the kids who are being arrested under this quota system are kids of color.
That's right.
And they're good kids.
And also sometimes, mischief that happens in the boroughs, like jumping a turnstile or something crazy like that, leads to you being in Rikers because you got a warrant.
Right.
And you end up on Rikers, and because you're poor, or because, you didn't pay attention to the ticket, and then you got a warrant.
And it's fun to do bad things.
It is fun to do bad.
And I worked in the DA's office, and I saw how the system worked. Young man comes in, he DAT, but he had an open warrant for jumping the turnstile. He forgot about it. So they put him back into the system. He was getting ready to run. The officer said, come on. The court said, please don't do that, brother. Young kid comes to Virginia, white, steals a car, gets into an accident, and they let him go. I'm like, oh, wait a minute.
Or his family has money to pay the bail.
And he wants to pay the bail. We have to have bail reform. We have to have speedy trial. It's a lot of things we have to do. And I'm saying, what are our elected officials doing about it? Just keep talking. You can't have a utopian legislation bill. It doesn't happen. You got to start somewhere and build on it. And people wanted to do this bill. They were trying to do the bill. They couldn't get it done. Now that I got it done, they're like, oh, well, we could have did more. Well, then why didn't you do more?
And do you feel like you're the one that got this done?
I feel like I'm the one that got this done. I feel like I'm the one that said, look, enough's enough. Democrat, Republican, 30,000 kids every year going through the system. 95% of our kids, Black and Latino, and Rikers Island. You mean to tell me we're the only kids committing crimes? It's a farm. To me, it's like a plantation system that's still in place, and no one's talking about it.
So, and no one else helped this bill get done other than you.
Oh no, other people had to get the bill done. I'm not saying it was just me, but I'm saying is that
who are those people?
Velmanet Montgomery is one of them. Jeff Klein is one of them from the IDC, because we said we are not voting on the budget until we get raised the age. My whole conference said we are not voting on this budget. We took a stance. Told the governor we were not voting on this budget until we get raised the age.
Who's the other gentleman that
The speaker.
Carl Hastings was part of it.
Hastings. They said. I mean, I was told it was Hastings that said he wasn't.
That he said he wouldn't let the budget
the main
happen until-
standoff.
Right. Hastings played a large part. Flanagan, Lanza, Republican from Staten Island, Patrick Gallivan, a Republican, and Kathy Young. So we were saying, hey, we have to stop this. Too many kids are being criminalized for just being a child.
And what? Tell me on the other. What's the hook though? Because the reason they wanted to tie it to the budget, they had to. Because it feels like, why are you tying kids going to jail at 16 with adults to money? Like, why is it being tied to a budget? So who got some money out of it?
No. The way it is, Ebro, with the budget is that if you don't pass the budget by April 1st, legislators don't get paid. So if you take it out the budget, it might not ever get passed. But if it's in the budget, it's a high probability, like 99.9%, that it will get passed.
But okay, so then let me ask it another way.
Right.
Why wouldn't anyone want to pass this before? And why did it? I understand now why it had to be tied to force people to vote.
Exactly.
But why would someone not want this?
Well, we didn't have the majority, and it was
Yeah,
based.
but even a
But
Republican.
why? Yeah, but
wouldn't a
why? Yeah, because I
Republican-
always wanted that too.
It was
like,
it's
what's
the
argument?
dialogue. It's the dialogue and saying, hey, Ebro, you're a Republican, dude. Let's make this happen. Let's have some dialogue here. I just can't say you're a Republican. I'm not going to talk to you.
Are you asking why Republicans don't want black kids to stay in jail longer?
I don't believe it's that simple, Rosenberg. I don't believe
mean,
that.
we've
I don't
seen it even
believe
on
that
social
just
media,
because you're a
Ebro.
Republican.
No,
you're like,
not-
I don't care about these black kids.
I do
wanna
not-
do
I don't
It's
think-
also how,
certainly not
how
all
it's been phrased, because I've seen it on social media. People calling you, you guys want murders and rapists. That's what you want to do? Spend your money on keeping them out of jail?
No, we're not
It's
talking about murders
Yeah,
and
we're not talking about that. They're quick to criminalize our
Yeah, but
children.
I don't think it's Republicans that are. I think that there's some money there. Somebody's making some
Well,
money.
if there are people in the system
Is it
longer, does that benefit?
I know the answer. I just want someone else to say it.
So then
I
why-
wanna know.
why don't
The
you say-
answer is these Republicans represent areas where there's cities and towns that have jails in them.
Yes.
And these kids, these black and brown kids from our city here, New York City, go upstate and they increase the population of these towns so they get more funding from the government because their population went up, and they provide jobs at these jails. So these jobs, these jails, I don't know if they're private or state run, I don't know what they are. They provide the economy for these small towns.
That's correct.
So why
That's
did you-
what I wanted you to say.
Oh.
So the reason they like locking these little babies up is because they get money.
They're not babies. They're putting 2-year-olds in jail. They wouldn't even be affected.
I mean, but you know what I
I
mean.
get what you're saying.
Basically, you're an
Teenagers.
adult baby.
Yes, children who are making
You're a baby adult.
teenagers who are doing dumb
Teenagers.
things that you
Right.
shouldn't be locked away for 15 years.
Correct.
And that's what they want, is they have them then in their system and
They get money.
they get
Yes.
money.
Their town gets money.
Fam, it's
And
slave
Devon was
labor.
locked up for 15 years in prison.
Devon, what'd you do to get locked up, sir?
Well,
Get nice and close there.
You got him
What's
off the
up?
hot seat.
yeah, I got him off the
There you
hot
go.
seat.
Save him, boy.
Well, I actually got convicted of an assault.
Okay. What type of
So-
assault?
Well, it was
Fighting?
No, it was a violent crime.
Okay.
Need I say more?
No, I mean,
No, but
probably
and
go
how
along.
old were you?
The
I
fact
was
that
actually 17 when I was arrested.
17.
I was 17 when I was arrested. I was sentenced to 18 years, and ultimately I did my sentence.
And I mean, I don't want to get into all. We don't get into all the details, but was it like a robbery situation? Was it just a random thing? Like what can you tell us?
well, I
about?
don't want to get into it because
was
he's
an
trying to get out
assault,
here in the
right?
workforce.
Like it's not really. I don't even want to go into the specifics. I was convicted of an assault.
Got
right?
it.
But I don't want to be defined by that because
Sure.
actually I paid my debt to
Exactly,
society.
you already did,
right?
and,
So-
and a heavy debt at 18 years. The only reason I was trying to establish it is I'm trying to get an idea because I'm guessing that you said it was an assault. It was not a murder or anything of that nature. So 18 years is a long time, a very long time. How long did they think? What was the minimum that you could have gotten?
Well, I got sentenced in 1999 and 1998. Governor Pataki back then implemented the I forgot the truth in sentencing, where you basically could only do determinate sentences. So it was no longer
Whatever the crime, that's the time. That's it. It's not
that's it.
negotiable.
So basically,
Got
you're
it.
doing
Right,
85%
right.
of your time, and
matter
that's
what.
how I got that
And
long sentence.
you did 85.
Did 15 and a half years.
Got it to 15.
It did. This is the piece of the raise the age part, right? Where I feel like there's a great conversation opportunity. When you made your mistake, okay, at the age of 17, right? You made an emotional mistake, okay? that basically put you away and changed your life forever, right? Do you feel that the mistake that you made, you should have been treated like an adult because you knew right from wrong and you could have done different?
I think that I should have been sentenced as a juvenile because I wasn't mentally capable of really understanding the dynamics of what would have happened. Like, in all actuality, at the age of 17, I was not fully developed mentally. So I had a lot of things going on in my life. I had trouble in my household. It was a lot of issues that I was going through. And I'm not trying to say that, I shouldn't have had no type
that
of
kind of
punishment.
caused you not to have the right frame of mind.
Exactly. But at the age of 17, I don't believe any young individual is prepared to actually know the ramifications of their actions long term. So this is why it's really important for raise the age to be implemented, because at the age of 16, 17 years old, you have no experience in life. You're still in the development stage, which is why you're in high school to learn ethics, professionalism, things of that nature. And by having these young kids on Rikers Island, you're basically throwing them into a culture which just promotes violence, and there's no rehabilitation component to it whatsoever.
How are you able to, you obviously pulled it together and was able to get your education. How did you go from the place you were in, where you were at a bad enough place to commit the crime you committed, to being someone who was able to be focused on education while being locked up?
Well, I like to use the term autodidactic because I actually
Can you please define the word autodidactic?
I like to be self-taught, when you teach yourself, right? I was inspired after reading my first book, In Prison, by Malcolm X, right? I seen that he actually did it, and I was like, wow, you know what? I need to do something to help change my community because I'm not the only person in here who's actually experienced this. So with that, I continued to educate myself, and in about my 12th year, 2011-12, I was transferred to Otisville Correctional Facility where John Jay just implemented the prison to college pipeline, which was founded by Dr. Boz Drosinger, who I've seen.
Boz has been up here before.
Yeah, she's been up. So she started the program, and I took the CUNY assessment test, and I was selected to be one of the 8 participants. And from there, I used education as my way to hopefully empower communities around the world.
Wow. Do you see the connection between the environment you grew up in and your inability at a young age to understand how to manage your emotions when thinking back, when looking at it?
Now I do. Back then, now I understand the social dynamics, right? The schools in my community are not the same.
And which community we talking?
So I'm from Harlem, right?
What area?
East Harlem, actually. Well,
Okay.
on both sides of Harlem, but back then District 4 was horrible. Gentrification then kicked in, and it's a little different now. Mm-hmm. But, I was actually fortunate because my mother lied and said that we resided downtown where she worked in District 2 as opposed to District 4, and that's how I was actually able to go to a decent school, which helped me. It actually was a public school, but it was diverse, multicultural, and they had teachers who actually cared about us and instilled principles in me that I still use today.
And so, when you made your mistake, it wasn't at school; it was just in the neighborhood.
Nah, it was in the street. One of the main reasons I can contribute me going to jail for is I didn't have no role models, right? Me personally, I didn't have anyone in my community who I could actually emulate. I never even met a college grad prior to going to prison, right? And this is why I'm really big on mentorship. I'm actually part of College Initiative as well, which is a program which is designed to help individuals who've been justice involved enroll in college, right? Because if a lot of these crimes that we actually consider to be crimes, it's kind of like hopping the terms and that's a crime, that's a violation. But if you're gonna say that individuals are doing something wrong, then you got to teach them right, right? And this is where education comes into play.
Do you, when you talk to kids now, is that a part of your path? Is mentoring and where you're taking your degree?
Yes. Ultimately, my plan is to build a mentorship program designed to help young individuals from urban communities attain resources that they pretty much don't know is even available. There's a lot of misinformation out there, as if you can't go to college because you have a criminal record. So I think that if our young people actually see people of color in their community doing things like going to college, sometimes I get looked at funny when I come out of my building with a suit. They're looking at me like, who's this dude, right? But yesterday you see me with my Timbs on, and they're like, yo, what? And it's sad because That's just me going to an event. I'm dressed up professionally, and you're looking at me like I'm other, but I'm really from the same community as you. But it's just that these young individuals don't really have a lot of role models to actually emulate in our communities. And this is why I go so hard in the classroom, because I can actually take my degree now, because I'm the first graduate from the program, bring it back to the hood and say, yo, look at this. I'm doing it, right? I got a 3.85 GPA, and I bring that to the classroom. I bring my ideas to the classroom from a different perspective, because I've been to places most of these students never been. So I'm the other side of justice, right? John Jay probably has the biggest police class in the nation, but in these textbooks, I'm a criminal justice major, in these textbooks, they define, they use derogatory terms. One of them is inmate, right? Because I'm still a person, right? So I like to use the term incarcerated person. I'm just learning the language, but it is really important to distinguish the difference, right?
Right.
And
it dehumanizes someone to just call them inmate.
yes, and you know I feel as that's my biggest strength in the class, because I'm able to step into the classroom and teach students the difference between the terms, and hopefully, you know, inspire individuals to be the next senator.
Well, there you go. It was a pleasure meeting you, and congratulations.
Yeah, I enjoyed that, man.
Yes.
And tell Boz we
you.
said, do you still see Boz? Tell her we said what's
so
up.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, tell her we said what's up.
Good for you,
You
bro.
senator, independently, democratic, conferencing person, you.
We'll continue this conversation.
And Ebro, we the Independent Democratic Conference has the Independent Defense Coalition. We just got $11 million for Immigrant Defense Fund. I'm the only senator in Brooklyn that my office is a sanctuary office. Because with broken windows, there's really no sanctuary. So, and
I just like giving you a hard time because you know it's controversial.
It's controversial.
It's very controversial, and I think it's and I do think it's an interesting place for us to put the politics aside and really get some things done. But when you start hearing that people are breaking off and this and that, you start wondering why.
I think what's happening now is that we're getting things done. And people who have been in office for over a decade who haven't done anything, just get a paycheck, go up to Albany, and just vote down. No, I'm about being proactive, being progressive, and getting things done. In my first 3 months with the IDC, we got raised the age. So if I can accomplish that in 3 months, imagine what I'm going to do in the next year.
You're going to catch some heat when you get to Albany for taking all the credit for raise the age. I just want you to know that.
He didn't take all the credit. Thank you so much.